Hey there, my name is Anthony Romano, and in this video I'm going to tell you why keto is the healthiest fat loss diet for women. So obviously I'm not a woman, but I've been doing this diet for 7 years now, and I make plans for people very often, and I've seen this diet really improve the health of a lot of people, particularly women. So if you're wondering what this diet could offer you, it's going to be obviously lots of fat loss in a healthy way, better health, better hormonal regulation, which is something not a lot of people on YouTube know how to actually recommend for women, but I do. And it's also great for your skin and a lot of other lifestyle benefits like mental function. So if you're a woman or you know a woman who's interested in keto as a fat loss approach or even just a overall lifestyle approach, this is the video you're going to want to watch. The ketogenic diet is the low carb and almost no carb diet. So what you get by cutting out all your carbs is that you're forcing your body to start using fat as all of its energy because it has no other carbs coming in. So what this looks like is you're going to be getting all of your carbs from vegetables basically, and you're going to want to keep your overall carb consumption under 50 grams a day. Doesn't matter if you overdo it on the vegetables, there's basically no ceiling to that, but you're not going to want to be eating rice, bread, pasta, and not even any fruits. Okay, so trust me, listen to that one, because a lot of women particularly have a hard time making the jump fully, and that actually is way worse for your hormones than any calorie restriction diet. So you need to jump into ketosis right away, and what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of benefits to your hormones as a result of making that switch and not taking a half step. So I'm going to start off with hormones because that's one of the ones that a lot of people on YouTube don't know about, and it's really one of the things that holds a lot of women back from doing the keto diet. So any calorie restriction diet is going to negatively affect your hormones because your body needs enough energy in order to produce hormones, and in order to survive, it will downregulate the hormone production if you're not giving your body enough calories. So the keto diet, because it puts your body in this fat burning mode, is going to basically make it not only a lot easier for your hunger and for your energy levels to have lower calories, but you're not going to need to lower your calorie deficit as much because your body's in this fat burning mode. So you can drop your calories by a couple hundred and still be burning plenty of fat. And that's actually a lot more optimal for your hormones. So I'm going to start off by talking about hormones and also the role of fat in hormones. So to understand the hormone production in your body, most of that is controlled by, all of that is controlled by the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So this is the controller of all the hormone production in your body, and it's affected by other hormones in your body, so like insulin and other leptin and other hunger hormones, even cortisol, stress hormones. Those all affect this function of this HPA, which I'm going to call HPA because it's way too complicated to say hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis all the time. So with a lot of women, they seem to get very good hormone and sexual lifestyle benefits from increasing the fat consumption in their diet. Fat is very conducive to producing hormones, and with a lot of the healthy cholesterol from good sources like eggs, for example, it helps your body produce more hormones, and particularly the fat-soluble vitamins. So fat-soluble vitamins are A, E, D, and K, and they're found in all good fatty animal products. So what those do is they actually function like hormones in your body, the A, E, D, and K. And a lot of people are deficient in them, and they're very underprescribed. When you eat more fats, especially when they're nutrient-dense, good quality fats, a lot of women find their sexual health is completely balanced and everything is the way it needs to be. This is because a lot of marketers and food industry like to demonize fat, when in reality, fat is one of the main sources of energy for humans since evolution. Now, with regards to that HPA again, the main controller of all the hormones in your body, when you have your calories too low, it's going to basically ruin that HPA and going to downregulate all the sexual health hormones. So you're not going to want to restrict your calories too much on any diet if you're a woman. Really, even if you're a man, you don't want to do this, but men kind of have a little bit more leeway without, affecting their hormones. So for women, if you start eating ketogenic, what's going to happen is your insulin sensitivity is going to increase and your leptin sensitivity is going to increase. So what this means is insulin is the fat storage hormone and leptin is one of the main hunger hormones. So when you're more sensitive to insulin and leptin, which the ketogenic diet is one of the best increasers of your sensitivity to those two hormones, what's going to happen is the leptin is going to make sure that you feel more full, and the insulin is going to make sure that you have less cravings, especially for sugar. And it's also going to be way healthier for your body and make you less likely to store fat in the future. So when it comes to balancing out those hormones, if you're somebody who's already overweight or have a higher than optimal body fat percentage, it's very likely that you are not as sensitive as you should be to those hormones. So even just doing the ketogenic diet is going to increase your sensitivity to those hormones. And the longer you do the ketogenic diet, the better your body gets at it. So everything gets much more regulated, and basically your sensitivities for the future get reset almost. So with regards to those sensitivities and the HPA, when women have problems with their menstrual cycle or other hormone production for sexual health, if you are not sensitive enough, that actually hinders the production of estrogen and progesterone. And increasing your sensitivities doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have really high levels of those hormones, but it does mean that your body's going to be more efficient at producing them. So it's not going to overdo it and it's not going to underdo it. So with a lot of women, well, actually, here's another bit too. With the HPA, ketosis, getting into that state immediately affects the HPA in a positive way. So entering ketosis immediately affects your hormone production positively. So there are some studies where you might read that the low carb diet negatively affected the HPA. And those studies basically put women on a low carb and low calorie diet, and it wasn't high enough in fats. So that is where the problem lies. The problem lies in not giving your body enough energy. So if you lower the calories too much, it's going to negatively affect your hormones. And if you don't have high enough fats, it's going to negatively affect your hormones. So I want to frame this as energy total. So when your body is in ketosis, it's using fat for energy. So if you're not giving your body enough fat, that will basically be your body not having enough energy. And that's where the hormones are going to get down-regulated. So for women, it is a little more important to have higher fats on a keto diet. So higher fats as opposed to men is what I'm saying here. So for typical keto diets, they'll recommend 80% fat and 20% protein. Now, this is not necessarily what you need to do. That number is based off of children with epilepsy in the 1930s. And that basically ensures that you have really high ketones, which doesn't necessarily mean you're going to burn more fat, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's better for your health. All you need to do is just be in ketosis and not eat those carbs. But for women, especially with, women with more delicate sensitivities to hormones, you're going to want to be on the side of higher fat rather than lower fat. So besides the fact that fats have a very key role in hormone production, health, and in fat-soluble vitamins, the thing is, with higher amounts of fat, you're playing it safer. So that's why a lot of people recommend 80-20 fat to protein, because that basically saves their asses from any liabilities if one woman, can't handle 50% fat opposed to another woman who can. So some women might be able to handle 50% fat and have no problems at all hormonally, especially when they're in that fat adaptation stage. But the thing is, some women might not. So it's easier for these fitness people on YouTube and these supplement companies to say eat 80% fat and 20% protein, because that's a better way to ensure that women aren't going to undersell their energy requirements throughout the day. So you don't necessarily need to have 80%. Try to get closer to it and get it from nutrient-dense animal products, and include like some avocados and plant-based fats as well, but mostly the animal ones, they're more dense in nutrients. And you can experiment with a 60% distribution of fat and a 40% distribution of protein, and vegetables somewhere in the picture as well. But if you want to play it safe, go closer to the 80%. And what you can actually do is start off the diet at around 80% fat and 20% protein, and green vegetables, which are going to make up like 3% of your calories because they're so low in calories. And from there, you can start dialing things back, or if you have some days where you go lower, it won't really be a problem. You can start at like a 70 or 60% fat, but it would be safer to start off at around 80. So, most women will be completely fine on a 60% fat, 40% protein, and, 5 or 6% carb. So, somewhere between 30 to 40% protein and 5 to 10% carb. And it's not really an issue, but just for safety's sake, getting more fats is going to be better. And actually for women, even increasing your fats by 5% per day has shown to increase estrogen by around 12%. It really balances out a lot of estrogen and progesterone. So basically what this looks like for you is, like I said, try to keep your fats higher. Make sure you're getting it from nutrient dense animal products, and you can distribute some plant-based fats in there as well, some oils. Make sure they're not vegetable oils. Make sure they're, you're not cooking with vegetable oils, no canola oils, sunflower oils. Cut those out. They're very inflammatory foods, and that has a negative effect on your hormone production particularly. So another thing here is when it comes to your skin, when you cut out all sugar, this is going to really improve acne. So for acne, a lot of acne requires a certain sugar in order to produce pimples. And when you cut out all of the sugars altogether, it's really going to deprive any of the oils in your skin from that requirement in order to produce pimples. So it will really balance out a lot of other skin benefits and beauty benefits as well. As far as health, I've already covered the hormonal side of things, but like I said, you're going to want to keep your calorie restriction minimal. So in general, don't push it by 500 calories by too much. You can, and every woman is different. But at the end of the day, keep the calories in check. Focus more so on the carb count than the calories and getting adequate fats. And that's most of the case for women. That's the best way to play it safe and basically ensure that nothing is going to negatively affect you. For the health overall. So I've already explained the insulin sensitivity and the leptin sensitivity, which are great for your health, and the hormonal balancing, which is great for your health. But in terms of actual vitamin content in your body, not a lot of people are aware that nutrient-dense animal foods are very helpful for hormones and for overall production or actions in your body, particularly the fat-soluble vitamins. So you can get plenty of, the B's and C's and other water-soluble vitamins from meats and from certain vegetables, but as far as the vitamins that are going to do the most for your health, these are the fat-soluble vitamins. So these are the A, E, D, and K. And the best forms of them are found in animal foods. The ones from plant foods are really not as effective, and they don't have as much of an increase on your actual levels of nutrients, and they don't affect your iron as much, especially if you're low in iron. So what a day could look like for you is, you're going to have some meat in the day. You're going to have some fish products are great. Anything from the ocean, as long as it's not farmed fish. Additionally, you can have salads. Salads are great. I make a lot of my food with a meat group in the salad with a little bit of cheese, and try to get your cheeses and dairy products from, cleaner, non-pasteurized sources. A lot of, creams and milks in the grocery store aren't the best, but you're not going to be having much of those anyways. Cheeses are great. Other dairy creams are great, but overall, the best dairy is butter. So clarified butter, not the crap you see in the grocery store, the white butter. You want a yellow, non-artificially colored butter. And what's going to happen if you have more butter, especially with some of your foods or you cook with it, butter is one of the most nutrient-dense foods in the world. And even when you think of the foods that humans were made to have, there's one thing we know that humans were made to have, it's breast milk. And breast milk is predominantly fat and protein, because that's where most of the nutrients are stored in food. It's in the fat. In animals, it's stored in the fatty tissues, and that's why we store fat, because it's not only energy, but it can store nutrients. So another thing too is for women who are pregnant, you might not want to jump into a keto diet if you're starting, pregnancy or getting pregnant, but if you have been on a keto diet and you've adjusted with it, then it's perfectly fine for pregnancy. And no hormonal problems have ever been found in a woman who's been keto and then, became pregnant. It's more so if it's a shock to your body and you've never done it before, or you're coming from a very high carb intake and then surprising your body with keto for the first time. So that's the area where you're going to watch out for pregnancy. For a lot of metabolic syndromes in women, particularly PCOS, keto actually can reverse some of those metabolic symptoms. A lot of metabolic issues can be solved by keto. A lot of women with thyroid problems can balance that out by going keto. Overall, keto is the perfect preservation mode for your body, and everything in the body is a result of serving a purpose for our survival. This is the most efficient way to lose fat in general because it puts your body in a fat burning mode. It's going to increase the amount of fat soluble vitamins you get. It doesn't require a large calorie deficit, which is going to stress your hormones. It optimizes your hormones, and overall it'll also have other benefits like increasing your skin and even functions of certain organs. So even with those all put together in one picture, it still might seem complicated to you. But I have other videos on this as well. I've kind of tried to give a little bit of a picture of what your day might look like with certain foods. But overall, the most important thing is keep those carbs low and only from vegetables. You can get by on a protein bar with a couple carbs in there as well. But keep the fats higher. Protein is going to be, you'll be able to get adequate protein. You don't necessarily need to shoot for high amounts of protein. Just eat whatever distribution of fat to protein you want, but try to keep the fats higher. Try to keep them from nutrient-dense animal products. And if you do this, you're definitely going to see an improvement in the health of your menstrual cycle, a lot of sexual health, and overall, it's a very optimal state for people to be in. This is a state that humans were in most of human history. Agriculture and these dense grain products weren't around until the agricultural revolution. And most of the things that humans would be eating would be, vegetables from plants that were available, until the winter, so half of the year basically, depending on what part of the world. A lot of animal products, whether it's from fish, whether it's from meat, and you don't necessarily need to be afraid of other animal products like eggs. Eggs are great, and I always say this, but eggs are demonized in the food industry because there's a lot better profit margins on certain processed foods, and they just think about it rationally. The food industry wants you to be more afraid of 10 eggs than 10 Oreos. That's something I always say. And if you think about it, it's true. At the end of the day, you don't need to worry about cholesterol, especially if it's from good quality animal products, particularly eggs. So you can have an egg omelet for breakfast, some cheeses and meats on there, a big salad, some chicken breast. You can make a big batch of steak or other red meat or other fish products in the beginning of the week and ride that out throughout the rest of the week. That's what I do personally. And then you can have some snacks of some, clean Greek yogurt, a little bit of protein powder in there, some nuts. Stay away from the seeds in general, like the flax seeds aren't really the best. The hemp seeds are a little inflammatory, and the chia seeds aren't really optimal for digestion in the body. So overall, that's kind of how your day could look. You could throw in a protein bar in it here and there, but you're going to get the best results on this diet if you cut the carbs out and get them only from vegetables for the beginning. Keep your fats very high in the beginning, and from there you can watch some of my other videos to kind of wrap your head around this diet. I love answering people's questions and interacting with these people and you people I love interacting with people like yourself on this platform. So leave me a comment. I'll get right back to you. And, you can follow my Instagram as well and DM me there if you'd like as well. So hopefully that video was informative to you. You don't need to worry about your hormones if you're a woman, especially if you do this diet properly. And there really is a large room for, flexibility on this diet. You don't need to shoot for the high fats, but it is a little safer to play it that way. And as far as fat loss goals, you're definitely going to hit them. Health is going to increase, especially if you're somebody who's not in the best shape you can be in right now. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. My name is Anthony Romano. Thank you for watching. Peace.